Hi everyone, welcome to another, our second ICP Zero to Dapp Hackathon workshop. Second day in, I hope you're all still super excited and eager to get things started. Today we are joined by David, who I'm going to invite to the stage now, who will be answering all of your questions about Juno. So hopefully you guys have watched the pre-recorded video. Hi, David. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine, and you? Thanks for having me.
Good. Thank you for joining us. We're all very excited. Yeah, like I said, hope you all have watched the pre-recorded lecture. If you have, please let us know what you thought in the chat. If you haven't, it's still okay. You will still be able to ask questions and learn loads of things today. We're gonna get started straight away. We have some questions who have come in throughout the week, so we'll be starting with those. But if you have any questions come up throughout this workshop, then please pop them in the questions tab right next to the chat in the bottom right corner. And this session is recorded, so it will be uploaded tomorrow as well in case you have to leave sooner than it finishes. I'm kind of ready to get started. I'm going to start popping some of the questions that we received previously in the questions tab, and I'm going to hand over to you, David, and just kick things off.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And thanks for having me. So where do we want to start? So maybe, if not everybody has seen the video, so with Juno is kind of like a little open source alternative to Firebase that make building on Web3 easy, or at least it's what we try to do, or what I try to do. And the idea is that people can build decentralized app easily with the platform. And by having the whole control on everything. So, yeah, it's always difficult to describe a product. So I hope it's not too weird or anything. So yeah, maybe let's jump in the question. So the first one was about how Juno handles high traffic and load, right? So Juno is kind of a layer at the top of the internet computer, but Juno itself does not have infrastructure, so it's just the internet computer underneath. So how Juno handles the high traffic and load, it's like asking how the IC handles high traffic and load. And basically the IC can scale by adding more node provider and so on and so on. So I would say that you should ask the colleague at the foundation that are really good in this kind of things. But yeah, basically Juno can scale as the IC scale, which is not too bad, I would say, given that how fast the IC is. I hope that makes sense. So it's a bit,
Yeah, it does make sense. If you guys if you still don't understand, then please just ask to clarify in the questions tab or in the chat, and we're happy to do so. Yeah, do you want to maybe answer some more questions from the questions tab? Do you want me to read them out for you, maybe?
No, sure, I can go on. So the other one was, apart from that, what other use case Juno envisioned for his platform? Are there any plan to expand into area like digital identity, supply chain, etc.? So right now, I would say no, but not like in the sense, no, we're never gonna do it. More like, no, in the sense like in a short mid-term, the goal is to make building dApps, building project more easy. like really that approach of building products basically. But you never know what happens. Like I started Juno by having just something where you can have like users, little database and a little file storage. And then someday we had the idea that it would be nice to have analytics. So we had analytics. So it's a bit like it's really like one of those iterative projects where we continue to build and add stuff and always more things. Yeah, that's basically it. Then another question was, how does Juno support interaction with other cryptocurrencies and tokens? So right now it doesn't, but so it's built on the IC to work on the IC, but literally started a few days ago some experimentation to extend the Juno with some, let's call it serverless functions or something like that. You know, the idea that in addition to just use Juno on your dApps, on your client side, so that you can make call, that you can kind of supercharge it by adding what you want. And from there, if you can add what you want, then you can also interact with other cryptocurrencies and tokens. So I'm building that kind of layer where developers can begin to add more generic stuff, what they want. And then we're gonna iteratively add things. But like, would be nice, for example, one day to have like some ways to sign in, for example, with Ethereum or something like that. I generally like to provide libraries that make things easy to do. Yeah. Where should I continue? I hope this answer makes sense. Huh? I hope so.
Yeah, so it makes sense to me at least. So hopefully everyone got that. Someone has asked how you decide the best use case for this hackathon. So I think that might be a question that we both can answer. I would say one really good way to get some inspiration for what to build for this specific hackathon would be in the requests for startups document that I'm going to pop in the chat very soon. These are all things that I know that the ICP team are very interested in seeing being built just in general. But David, maybe you have some more ideas of cool things you think could be built using Juno, and what you think, what you would build for a hackathon with Juno, for example.
It's a good question. So, yeah, maybe I can say what I've built recently with Juno. Like in December, I wanted to submit a proposals to the Internet Computer. And since I don't like terminals, I thought, okay, I want to do that with a UI. And I've built that with Juno. So yeah, that's the kind of, and I did that like in a week or something. So that kind of matched the hackathon time frame, like if you have any idea where you say, okay, you need users, you need to save data, you need maybe to save file, and you want to do some other calls that are transmitted from your front-end side, then you can build that on the IC, on Juno, sorry, on the IC too. And there is not really limitation on that side. And then when it comes to the hackathon itself, I guess, like, I don't know, like maybe the project that is surprising is always the one that, like the project that you don't expect and you're like, oh wow, they did that. It's always like the wow effect is always good.
Yeah, the one that where you're like, oh, how come I never thought of that? That's such an obvious.
Exactly.
Yeah. I agree. Maybe guys, also, if anyone has any ideas of things that they're thinking of building for the hackathon, you can pop them in the chat, and we can see what David thinks. If he thinks it's a good idea, and he can give some feedback and stuff. That's also something you could do.
So one of the small project I got in mind, like, and I still did not have time to convert, is like I'm using like a time tracking app to track my work and to build my clients. And that's one DApp I did not yet have built on Juno. So I built it like a few years ago, and I would be happy to rebuild it again. Or I don't know, like yeah, just apps. Like I always think my dad paints a lot. I always think that would be nice someday that I build my dad like an app where he can upload his painting and add some comments and so on. Yeah, basically.
Nice. Someone has also asked, from the pre-recorded video, I understand it's sort of a boilerplate framework to deploy an app, but the actual app is to be developed, and how does Juno help with it? Is it comparable to Amplify or AWS CLI?
So right now, Juno helps with it by providing you examples and guides. So if you go to the website, there is like a guide section where it explains, for example, if you want to start with Vue, or you want to start with Angular or React or Next, then there is like 2 or 3 steps to say, okay, you do that and this, and then you're all good. Then there is like also a repo with lots of examples. It's often like there is a note-taking app, and then you got for every types of framework, you're gonna find that note-taking app. Then the video, the workshop material is also available, so you can also clone the workshop materials and really do step by step. And then regardless of the app you're gonna build, it's gonna be the same. And that's for now. And in the future, there will be also a CLI to Kickstart project. I actually received the design this week, the first iteration. So yeah, it's like in the next month. Let's say like that. So yeah, but I already reserved the npm init Juno is already reserved, so that's gonna be fine.
And what would you say are the limitations of Juno? When is it better to talk with ICP directly or use Juno in parallel?
Yeah, so there is the current limitation, and there is soon no more limitation. So currently, that's the thing. Is like Juno provides a set of features, the one I described since the start of this call, and that's basically what you can do. So, except if it's something that you can call from the front-end side, like I do with my proposal Dapp, where I call the NNS, the governance canister smart contract from the front-end. As soon as you have something to do on the back-end side, you cannot do that on Juno. For example, let's say that you want, I don't know, you like my dad. I built for my dad that painting website, and at some point he want to sell this painting because I don't know, they are NFT, and I want to make some transfer for that. I would not be able to do that right now because this function doesn't exist yet in Juno. But so that means that you cannot do that for the hackathon. But it doesn't mean that in the future you will have this limitation, because I started working on this serverless, or call it as you want, feature where any developer will be able to supercharge the Juno, and from there you will be able to do anything you want to do on the IC, basically. So yeah, I know it doesn't help for the hackathon, but yeah, just in the future, I try my best to be fast. It's just the hackathon was already there, you know, like I tried.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be just for the hackathon. People could just learn in general as well and use Juno for other projects. So yeah, feel free to ask questions that are not specific for the hackathon as well, if you have any.
Yeah.
Would you say that you could build an app similar to a typical CRUD app or CRUD app?
Yes. Let's call it like that. So when you build an app on Juno, you get a library and you can do setter, updates, delete, list. And I like if you got like 1 billion entry, that's probably gonna be a bit too much, I would say. So it's more shaped for a smaller project, I would say, small, medium-sized project. And it's worth to note that you can do the same also with file. Like if you want to upload image, PDF, or whatever, you can do exactly the same, like upload, list, and get, and delete. And and it works out of the box with internet identity and NFID. So you got that is built in, and then you just define what the user can or cannot do.
And Bruno has said, I work as a dev in a very traditional company. Is there a way to implement and convince staff to implement a Web3 authentication?
Yeah, I'm a bit. So that's my personal feeling, all right, or my personal point of view. The thing is, I kind of think like I work with many corporate and companies as a contractor, and I got the feeling that big companies often don't like to just buy one software. They'll either like to buy one big software that does everything, or like software that those communicate with each other, you know? So you can probably have the authentication, convince your company to use the authentication as soon as it's easily to integrate with other things. Like I know, like for example, in internet identity, when there will be like that, well, I think that they are, I don't know exactly what they are doing, but like I guess like they are always adding this feature who makes easier to communicate from internet identity with other system. And at some point there is like the one interaction that gonna say, oh yeah, that's what we need. If that makes sense. I mean, but like I say, it's kind of like a really personal point of view, and maybe that's not all the company, because there is a big difference between like a small medium companies and a corporate. It's not like the same financial decision, I guess.
Yeah. And Tobias wants to know whether Next.js is compatible with Juno. Is the SSR working like on Web2 regarding SEO?
So Next.js, yes, but SSR, no. But it's not a limitation of Juno. It's like the IC. Don't say no, because there are some ways, but like it's not straightforward to use SSR on the IC, because the thing is like every query you do to the internet computer comes back and should be certified. That means that every resources that you have in your smart contract canister should exist and should be validated by a certificate. So given that a query cannot change the state, it cannot generate a certificate, so you cannot have a certificate that has just been generated, you know? So you can tell your canister to fall back on something slower that's gonna generate the certificate and so on. So long story short, if you use Next.js, you have to use pre-rendering. I think it's export output. I think is it called the option. You cannot do, as far as I know, SSR right now. But that's, I think, like lots of dev that are building tooling on the IC want this to happen. So I hope that it will happen some rather soon than late. And regarding how to configure Next.js for Juno, there is like in the guide section of the website, there is like a section for that.
And actually, we're getting some ideas for things to build using Juno. So Karsten, I don't know how to pronounce that. It almost sounds Danish. I'm not sure. Let me know in the chat if I'm butchering your name. Said, I'm not going to build it, but would like to see someone build a Firebase-like solution based on Juno. I think it has a lot of the fundamental features.
So thing is, like, Juno is a little Firebase, except it's open source. But it works the same. So you got like in Firebase, you got something called Firestore for the database, and you got that in Juno, which is called Data Store, where you also define collection and you also define permission. You got the same for file storage, which basically works the same. You got the authentication. So yeah, Juno is a little Firebase.
And he was Danish. Nice. But lives in the US. So about Firebase, it has a lot of integrations too. Yeah. Yeah,
right. So that's also like the point that means, like in Firebase, you can do your serverless function where you can hook on the database, where your database change, you can start a function in the backend and so on and so on. And that's the next things that will come to Juno. So yeah, maybe someday I will be able to catch up with all the functions that Google has built. I like this. So with David against Google. Yeah.
Matthias has said, I wonder how difficult it would be to allow using CKBTC or CKETH for transferring funds into a Juno mission control.
That's so. Yeah, so difficult. I don't think really. The question is why? Because I mean, so the Juno mission control is already like an ICP wallet, because like so when a developer registers on Juno, the developer gets what's called a mission control, which is basically a canister, and from there, me as the provider of the platform already have lost any controls on anything. And from that mission control, like the developer can create project. So it's interesting to have ICP in the mission control, because from there the developer can add cycles like the kind of the reverse gas fee that is needed to make the smart contract works out. So that's why you can transfer ICP to the mission control. So technically, using the canister ID to transfer CKBTC or CKETH, I mean, I've literally worked on CKETH today, so I guess so technically I would know how, but I'm not sure why. I see. All right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. It's a fair point. Yeah. For example, like if someone that wants to start the analytics but don't want to pay in ICP but want to pay in CKETH, yeah, That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
I should add it somewhere.
Maybe something you could try building for the hack, Matthias.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, we have some more questions have come in. How interested is the Juno community to interact with the Web2 world, like WordPress, etc.? Are you more interested in building inside the Juno ecosystem or outside?
So right now it's a really small ecosystem. So I think like most people are either using Juno to have website and analytics plug on the website because they want to have their website and analytics on Web3. And then those that are using it to build dApps, they build the kind of dApps that I've listed before, like proposals, platform, or time tracking app, and this kind of things. So in that sense, I would say that it's mostly within the IC ecosystem, but it's maybe also due to the fact that you cannot supercharge it and add whatever you want at the top, you know. So I've got some hope that by allowing anyone to basically interact with anything, it will generate new cool idea, and then yeah, we'll see.
And then Oliver said, basically, Juno only allows to build the front-end functionalities that could call the back-end functionalities if they exist on an IC canister. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Cool. Oliver, you got it 100% down. And now another name that I can't pronounce, Gianluca? I don't know. Feel free to correct me again in the chat. What value propositions are there for using Juno instead of Firebase?
So that's a good question, and also that's a question, you know, like you have to solve when you start. I don't consider Juno yet as a startup or a product, but it's all these questions like, what the problem are you solving? So that's a good one. So personally, I like the idea that the developer is the sole controller of everything, which is kind of like, I mean, it's not a reason why you should use Juno and don't use Firebase or anything. It's just like, I like the concept. Then I hope this year that Juno itself gonna become a DAO. And I think that would be like a massive reason why to use Juno instead of any Web2 platform, in my opinion, because then it's not just David that provides software, but it really become like an decentralized organization. And finally, is like, yeah, I guess it's also like for the future, but where you can begin to do what to do, you can also begin to leverage like cryptocurrency, like as we just said, CKETH, CKBTC, and so on and so on. So you can begin to implement use cases using this kind of technology. So yeah, but that's my point of view. I'm happy to, if anyone has another idea, I'm always happy to hear. At least I hope that makes sense what I say.
It does. Yeah. It does.
It can also say that it's not like good enough or whatever, but
no, to me it sounds all good. Okay. But yeah, anyone in the audience watching as well, feel free to make us repeat ourselves if you need it. Duncan has just asked if there is documentation of working with Ruby and Ruby on Rails.
There is not, and I'm not even sure. Ruby on Rails doesn't is like some server-side rendering things, I guess. So I'm not sure that even works on the IC. So there is no documentation. But I would be curious if that would work out.
And someone had pre-submitted a question asking, what happens to my project if Juno disappears?
That's maybe also like, so Firebase will not disappear, but the thing is like, if I disappear and if Juno disappear, your project is still there, because like I said, like Juno and me have no controls on your project and on your canisters. So the only way your project can disappear, it's either there is no more cycles, so it's like a prepaid card, you know, like if you don't have any money on your phone card anymore, then you cannot do a phone call, or you decide to delete your project. But me and Juno, we cannot do anything.
Someone also asked, let me pop it in the chat or in the questions tab so that everyone can see, who pays for storage and recording?
So it's currently if you start on Juno, like creating your account, your mission control, and your first project, which we call the satellite, is free, means I pay for it to start. And then once you have your project, you have to pay of course, I don't have the term right now, but you pay for the cycle. You pay for that your project to run. I don't know. I don't have the. Let me Google my own documentation 2 seconds to find the term. Yeah, the operating cost. Sorry for that. So you are the developer is responsible for the operating cost. Then if you want to add more project, or if you want to spin off the analytics, then there is like a transaction cost, like a one-time cost. And I don't remember exactly the price now, but something around 0.3 ICP or something like that to spin off a project. And maybe I can add also, there is like, you can also set up warnings for your project so that you get an email if your project or satellite goes out of cycles. And that's basically the only Web2 things that is used on the whole platform, like sending email. All the rest is on chain.
And someone just asked in the chat as well, so that it doesn't disappear. How will we manage to use Juno? Because today I tried to work on a satellite and I was asked for 0.3 ICP. This might actually be a question about receiving coupons and stuff. So
no, it's possible. Like, so when you do the first satellites of Earth analytics is free, but then if you start a second one or and so on, then you have to pay like a one fee transaction to start a new project. So I guess that's what maybe it was not the first project, but it was like the second project.
Hopefully that helps. Yeah, it was the second.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, for the hackathon, if it's a really like a big program for the hackathon, you can always reach out and yeah.
Yeah, you can always reach out to me as well, and I can check in and see how I can try and help you. This is my Discord handle for anyone who prefers contacting me on Discord as well. Yeah, Karsten just said when you create a canister on the IC, it needs 2 T cycles as a minimum, which is about 0.3 ICP.
Yeah, thanks for pointing out that actually I don't make any money with Juno.
And what are main advantages of using Juno versus Azul? I don't really know how to pronounce it, besides the available key value DB.
Yeah, so Azure is great, but it's like when you decide to start from a blank page, if you want to start with Motocore or Rust from a blank canister, then you have to build everything. Maybe you find examples and so on and so on, but that's one thing. And the other is like, there is also all the tooling that comes to with Juno. Like you got all, it depends from where you start, but if you start from the front end side, you got the library, and it's almost like a no-brainer to use everything. I mean, if you never ever heard of what's Web3, what's blockchain, and so on, you can use Juno. So yeah, we can have some tryout, but I'm pretty sure you can, because from the developer perspective, it's just like, okay, you have to start a project, then you use a lib, and that's it. But yeah, hope makes sense.
And can you share the roadmap for Juno, or what features you're planning on adding in the future?
Sure. So the big feature right now is that serverless, whatever, I don't know, blockchainless, I don't know. Like that's like it will be really like a layer for the developer so that they can build everything, and also a layer so that we can build more things to come in Juno. And the other topics we have also, so I say we because like maybe not every month, but time to time we do like a small call with the community. Maybe we are like 2 or 3 people, or maybe a bit more. And then we discuss what should be the next things to build. And one thing that we map is like, or in the ID is like having kind of like some sort of marketplace within Juno, because when it comes to project right now, so you start and you have that satellites that give you some features, but maybe what you want is you want to create I don't know, like a blog, and you just need all the features that are there to build your own blog. Or maybe you are more a developer that want to develop something from the, I don't know, like more scalable, where you want like a super scalable database, and you don't want just a satellite. You want something like really big. And at some points, it's not maybe the role of Juno to build all these different templates, let's call it like that. But maybe there are some developers that are interested to use them, but there are maybe also developers that are interested to develop those. So kind of having those two sides of developer meeting each other. So that would be one thing. And then the other thing in terms of feature is like having an easy way to handle some kind of payment functionalities, like having like an easy library to use, like kind of as you would use Stripe, but like something like that. Let's call it like this. So that's for the features. And more generally speaking, like I say, I really hope that we managed to transform Juno in a DAO. That would be really cool. So,
and can the Juno dApp be deployed in the DFX playground for hackathon review, or must it be running on the IC? Let me see. I think you have to leverage Juno on IC. Why don't you send this to me? I don't know, David. I'm assuming.
So the default when you start with Juno is on the IC. And now there is a way to run Juno locally in a Docker container, but both is without DFX. So I guess no DFX playground, yeah.
Hopefully that answers your question, Alex. If not, let us know. And Matthias is asking, given that Motoko is the preferred language for ICP or is so advertised, would you mind sharing why you built Juno using Rust, and could it potentially be made with Motoko?
Yeah, that's a conversion. That's gonna be yeah. All right. So as I actually started using Motoko 2.5 years ago when I built. I don't know if you ever heard of. I built a blogging platform that was called Papyrus, and that was made with Motoko. But that was 2 years ago, and at some point, had features to build, and because the Motoko ecosystem was not mature enough at that time, I tried hard, failed. So on a weekend, I just decided to go on for Rust because there I knew I could build the features. And then I just stick there. And I think when it comes to me, it's like the Rust ecosystem is mature. You got many libraries, but what's really important for me is that you got many examples that are open source. Like if I want to build anything that has to do with, I don't know, like authentication, stable memory, and so on, I know I can go and have a look to the, for example, internet identity code base, and then look, oh, there's guys that are genius, build it, and just copy their code, and it works out. And for the serverless function that I'm about that I'm currently building, that we also be using Rust. I also think that, so that again, that's personal opinion, all right? It's also a good investment personally to learn Rust, because you see that in the tech industry there is more and more trends that people like Rust. So having a small idea of Rust is not too bad for the personal career. So for myself, it's not too bad. But yeah, I mean, that's my personal opinion. Huh? At the end of the day, I don't care how people build stuff. Huh? If it's like cool apps, it's a cool apps. It doesn't matter.
Dunson seems to agree with you, so he's giving you a little clap in the chat. Matthias says, I find it very valuable to get the builder's perspective and war stories. We have another question asking, what's the highest level of capability on Juno, its potential when it comes to dApp development?
So I think I said earlier, I don't think you can use Juno. Like, for example, I like to take that example that maybe you're not going to build the Discover feed with Juno, you know, like because there is probably like 1 million of data and like, I don't know how many users they have, but it's probably a couple of 100,000 if it's not millions. So I think that's probably too big to be built right now in Juno. I think it's really hard because so that could be a nice hackathon idea is like try to push Juno and find what are the limitations. I would like to know that, but I would say it's more like for smaller medium project. It's I think it's a really right tool when you want to build a quick proof of project, for example. Maybe not what everybody wants, but like you just have a week and you need a proof of project because your boss want to do that and you have to go public. It's going to be the fastest way, in my opinion.
So perfect for a hackathon.
Exactly.
Cool. Aria asks, what are the security implementations in Juno?
So again, Juno is just a layer at the top of the IC, and your project are just smart contracts. Every call you do, almost every call you do to your canister are whitelisted to your controllers. And then when it comes to the file storage and a little database, then it's up to you to define, it's per key, it's kind of collection based, and you say who has access to what is public and what is not public. So that for the general security, but in terms of overall, it's like, it's based on controller. That means that you got a smart contract, you are the controllers, and then only those can access it. And there is also two levels, like you have like the admin controllers, and you have that extra level, which is where you give just the read and write permission so that the controllers can not stop your canister. And I use that, for example, for my GitHub action, because there is like a Juno GitHub action to deploy automatically your apps when you release your project. And I don't want to use a controller that can stop or start my canister, but just can write the files. Yeah, I hope that was what was meant with security. It's a wide subject.
Sounds good to me. Artem wants to know, ASIL canisters to write smart contracts in TS generally cost about 2 times more than canisters written in Rust or Motoko. Whether Juno canisters cost and perform as ASIL or Rust canisters.
So Juno is written in Rust, the canister. I think there is space for improvement, basically. But that's because my main skills are, so as a contractor, I work as a front-end developer, not as a Rust developer. So that's why I think my Rust can probably be more easily improved, I would say.
Cool. And Mohammed wants to know whether you have any resources, such as scientific paper, article review, ebook, etc., that you recommend consulting about the Juno blockchain technology. Just from my end, I've sent the docs in the chat, and I saw that someone else also sent it, which is a great place to start. David, do you have any other resources you want to share?
So the thing is, like, Juno has no blockchain technology. The blockchain technology is the internet computer. So if you want to read about the blockchain technology, you should find everything on the internetcomputer.org portal. I really see Juno as a facilitator, like as a way to build fast. It's not an infrastructure project. And,
Yeah. And if I stop a canister, will it still use cycles in terms of storage costs?
Oh, I got the answer, but I have to try to stop a canister to give you it, because I actually had to ask the same question. So give me, I'm signing in my console to try to stop button to see what warnings comes. Huh? So when I stop, it tells me, please note that stopped satellites continue to consume cycles for the memory it occupies, including any remaining outstanding responses until the cycles balance reaches 0. So that means that when you stop the canister, it still needs cycles because he has memory. So he will use the cycles for that reason. And then I think when there is no more cycles, then there is a period of grace. I don't remember if it's I'm not sure if it's a week or something like that, and then the canister dies.
Ryan is saying, I'm a security engineer, but bored with cyber stuff. I'm thinking something actually useful in my canister, maybe IoT.
That would be cool.
Let me know, Ryan, if you decide to do something with that. Sounds cool. I think that might be all the questions for now. Does anyone have... Oh, we just had a new one. How easy is it to migrate data from Juno when my product is giving a very heavy traffic and needs to stand alone?
So from there, I understand that you want to get the data outside and put there somewhere, right? You can write JavaScript script or any scripts you want to get the info, and then you get your information as a JSON file, and then you can structure the way you want this data. Does it make sense? There is not like an export button right now in the app, but yeah, that's kind of things. You cannot copy the WASM, but I would be like querying, getting the data out, and then yeah. But I think like I don't know if on the IC there is sometimes the topic pops up, like people asking, oh, they can back up their canister and that kind of thing. So the thing is like when features are implemented on the IC, then Juno inherits those too. So yeah.
And Fred is asking if he can make outcalls.
So not yet, but as soon as I'm finished what I'm building, yes. So yeah, let's discuss in a month or two.
And what are the software lifecycle development SLCD process steps for building a DApp project within the blockchain technologies deployed on Web3?
That's a question too complicated for me, I would say. To be honest with you. So right now, I think that there are two kind of like, there are maybe two different life distinction. So from my perspective, the difference I do is like, either it's like everything you package an application, you deploy your app and so on, you do through the QA and blah, blah, blah. But the real difference becomes when your project is a DAO, because then you don't deploy straight to production or something like that, but you package your app, you do the QA and so on, and then you submit it to the organization, to the people within your organization, within your DAO, so that they can say if they are agree or not to deploy that app. And that's for me like the big difference in terms of life cycle. So like, for example, as we do like in NNS dApp, when there is a new release of NNS dApp, first there is a proposal, then every token holder can vote if they want or not that dApp to be deployed in production or on mainnet. So yeah, but again, that's really like I just build apps. You are way too clever for me.
That's how I feel every day. Okay, this might have to be the final question. If you have any last minute questions, please write them now. So we have time before we have to finish up. But Ryan wants to know whether there is a scenario where API can be mocked in FHRI and app with WASM code and canister.
I don't think so, but that's also a question that is probably too intelligent for me. But what's new in Juno is that there is that Docker canister, so that Docker file that contains the canister. So if you want to work against a mock or something, you can use the Docker image to do that. Not sure it really answered the question though, but yeah.
Yeah, any questions as well that you have can always be posted in the Encode Club server in the ICP Hackathon specific channel. I'm sending it now. Yes, there will be a recording. It will be posted in the Hacker Pack and on the Discord channel as well. So make sure to always keep an eye out there. If you have any issues finding the correct channel, just DM me. You can also ask questions on the ICP Dev Community Discord and get help there.
We got a Juno channel on Discord and on OpenChat too, and I'm basically always online, so so yeah, I generally answer quite fast, except tonight because I have dinner with a friend. But otherwise, yeah, I'm all gonna answer fast.
Cool. So I see that Mohammed has asked 2 more questions. I don't know if we have time to answer them because we're kind of running out of time. So what I would recommend doing, Mohammed, is posting that on the Discord channel. And like I said, if you have any problems finding the correct channel, then just DM me. I'm sending my handle now, and you can also email me, and I will send my email address in the chat as well. I think that was everything we had time for today. Thank you, everyone, for posting all your questions. There were too many. We didn't even have time for all of them, which is always a good sign that people are super excited about building using Juno. And thank you, David, for joining and for answering all the questions. Do you have any final words of encouragement or things to say before we sign off?
Yeah, it was so fast. Thanks, everyone. I was really expecting that we would have like 2 questions and 1 participant in the chat. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining and for the really difficult questions sometimes. So I do my best. And yeah, thanks for having me again. It was really a pleasure. Thanks for having the hackathon. And yeah, if there is anything, reach out. I'll try to help if I can.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good rest of your day, morning, night, wherever you're based in the world. I will see you all again very, very soon because we're actually running another workshop tomorrow, which is at 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. GMT. And that is all about building cross-chain dApps in the ICP EVM integration. So that's going to be a really, really exciting one. Prepare all your questions, and I will see you all there. So thank you again. Thank you, David, and goodbye. Have a good rest of your day.